So this is always a major policy talking point, the national health insurance. President Cyril Ramaphosa has agreed to delay the proclamation of key sections of the NHI Act following a significant legal challenge. This decision comes after the Pretoria Division of the High Court declared sections 36 to 40 of the National Health Act 61 of 2003 unconstitutional. I suspect that should be 2023. Anyway, we'll get to it. The court's ruling, stemming from the case of Solidarity Trade Union and others versus Minister of Health and others, highlighted concerns that the scheme constituted an impermissible expropriation and was incomplete without proper regulations. The delay in the NHI Act's implementation, agreed upon in February this year, is pending the Constitutional Court's judgment on other challenges scheduled to be heard. While the Department of Health continues preparatory work to strengthen the health system, President Ramaphosa's undertaking ensures that no sections of the NHI Act will be proclaimed until the Constitutional Court delivers its verdict. It's all very complicated, but let's unpack it with Minister of Health, Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi. Good afternoon, Doc, and thank you for your time. Let's start with just clarification. The sections that were under consideration in that Solidarity case were sections 36 to 40, and the reporting has varied in terms of what it is that is put in abeyance in the meantime, pending the finalization of the processes in the Concord. What exactly is being put in abeyance? Is it only those sections? Is it the entirety of the NHI Act coming into effect?
Good afternoon, Tulazize. Good afternoon to the listeners and viewers. Indeed, it is complex, and unfortunately, Tulazize, you have complicated it even more by bringing the yes, unfortunately, by bringing the issue of Section 36 to 40 of the National Health Act. This whole thing, which took place in court on Monday, has got nothing to do with that, Tulazize. There's no relationship at all to that ruling. It's a separate thing which has got nothing to do with NHI at all. It was just a section of the National Health Act, which was passed by Parliament in 2003.
Right.
And yes, in 2003, and somebody went to court to declare it unconstitutional. That part is not related to the issues that has happened since Monday this week. What has happened this week is that the president, myself, and have agreed to advise the president not to proclaim certain sections of the NHI Act itself until May the 3rd and to the 7th of May, the 5th to the 7th of May this year, in which the Constitutional Court is going to hear two cases at Tulazize. This is the case brought by the Western Cape government against the NCOP, where they said during the process of passing the NHI Act, the NCOP did not follow certain procedures or processes which they believe should have been followed. The second case is by BHF, the Board of Healthcare Funders, a representative of some medical schemes, which is bringing the same challenge but against the National Assembly. In other words, they are saying during the process of passing the Act in the National Assembly, certain processes or procedures were not done in the way they should or were not done at all. Now, the Chief Justice said, in view of that, why should we go on with all these other cases? Because there was supposed to be a case on Thursday, Tulazize, the 26th. This case was going to be heard in the Constitutional Court, whereby we are appealing a judgment that was made against the president assenting the act into the bill into the act. You are aware that just before elections in 2024, I can't remember the date, the president decided to assent to make the NHI Act bill an act of Parliament, and that was taken to court. There was a judgment which said the president must present all his documents to the court, and we are challenging that. We don't think that's appropriate. That was supposed to be heard on Thursday, the 26th of March. Then we also asked the court that because these cases are many, there are about 14 of them, Tulaziswe, they are challenging the same thing. We said, why can't they be consolidated into one act?
Yeah.
I mean, into one case. Even if it takes 2 weeks to hear, but it must be one case. We are avoiding a situation where, Tulaziswe, an act of parliament is challenged in many different courts at different times. I'm sure you are aware that in terms of legal processes, they may bring different outcomes.
Yeah.
And that will be extremely complex and confusing. So we said, why can't it be one act? During that was supposed to be heard between the 24th and the 27th, also of February. But then the Chief Justice said, why do we hear all these rulings?
Yeah.
Because whatever the outcome in May will be, it will nullify everything. For instance, if Western Cape and BHF win in May, then there's no NHI Act, and all the challenges against NHI Act falls away. I wonder whether you understand that.
I get it fully, Minister, and thank you for explaining it that way, because clearly now the challenges that will be consolidated and heard at the same time between the 5th and the 7th of May speak to both the substantive elements and components of the NHI Act, as well as the procedural aspects that have to do with how it was adopted and the processes followed, as you've explained, in the NCOP and the National Assembly.
No. No. It's procedural.
It's only procedural. Even the ones that were meant to be heard now in February.
The 5th to the 7th, they are challenging procedural.
Yes.
The others that has been cancelled were challenging the substance. And now the judge say, if the procedure is challenged successfully, then there's no act. So what will be the use of having had a court case that challenges the act when there's no act? You understand what I mean?
Yes, I get you.
The NCOP challenge is procedural. The procedure was wrong, set the act aside. The National Assembly case is also procedural.
Yes.
Set the act aside. Once the judges agree, then it means all the other cases fall off. And even if you have had them before, whatever the outcomes is moot, if you understand what I mean.
Oh, I see.
So the Chief Justice said, yes. The Chief Justice said, no, let's wait for May. In fact, she made the date because they were arguing that constitutional court cases might be heard after a long time. She said, no, I'm going to hear it in May. I'm even putting the dates. It's the 3rd. The 5th to the 7th of May. So pause the other cases. Now, what led to this president agreeing to delay? Then the opposition said no, but during that period, they will be implementing the NHI Act. If they can promise us in waiting, that will also pause, then we'll agree. Then we said, why not accept? Because it doesn't stop us from preparing for NHI. It just stops us from proclaiming certain parts of the act until such time that the Constitutional Court has made a ruling. Take, for instance, Tulaziswe. If the cases were heard on Thursday, the 26th, that was in the Constitutional Court, and also on the 24th to the 27th in the High Court, all those cases, even if they were heard, their outcome were going to be cancelled in May, depending on the outcome in May.
Gotcha.
So the Chief Justice was saying, why do we waste time money and resources to hear cases that might actually be moot in May?
Yeah. So what are the implications then, Minister, for your planning around the NHI? Because as a policy choice and a policy path, you've clearly committed to it. And there was a bit of it that was talked to in the budget that was delivered last week by Minister of Finance, Minister Kodongwana. What does that do? Is it merely a pause on moves at the legislative level in terms of proclamation, or do you continue to carry out the work that will lay the foundation for the implementation of the NHI?
Absolutely. We are continuing with that work, Tulas, because it's a work to strengthen the healthcare system. The issue of proclamation is just to proclaim what is written in the Act. For instance, the part you are mentioning, which the Minister of Finance mentioned when he was forming a budget facility for infrastructure development is to put up 3 academic hospitals, which will be very helpful in NHI, because there will be the standard. What we are planning is there will be the standard which many private hospitals don't even have. So the public will use it, and it will be much cheaper than going to a public hospital. And because it's academic, it has got professors, and it has got all the disciplines. It is what the country needs. Nobody can stop us from preparing that, because even if by May the NHI Act is nullified, nobody can say then you should not build a new hospital. I hope you understand what we're trying to say. That is the same with all other preparations. For instance, one of our biggest preparation is to have a health information system that will help us trace a patient from one doctor to the other, from one healthcare facility to the other, whether between public and private. Any patient who goes to look for healthcare, the next doctor or the next nurse or next physiotherapist need to have that information. At the present moment, such a system does not exist in the country. Even during apartheid, it was never there. And the CSIR took 8 years to design such a system, because we asked them 8 years ago that we are going to need this system, especially for NHI, but for the healthcare system generally, we need it, please prepare it. Now that system is being rolling out. Surely we can't stop rolling out such a system because of this ruling. We can't stop again building hospitals because of this. We can't stop buying equipment to Lazise.
Yeah.
We can't stop doing important things because there's this ruling about proclamation. So we are going on with preparations, definitely.
Lastly, Minister, let me take advantage of the fact that you and I are talking, and it's shortly after the passage of the budget last week. And there's been a great deal of focus on the impact of what has been called officially fiscal consolidation, what some are calling austerity measures on sectors such as health and the ability to absorb new doctors into the system, just generally to deliver the services. From what you heard from the minister last week, does it move you forward in terms of addressing those shortages and gaps that were becoming quite untenable?
A little bit. A little bit, Tulas. I'll tell you why. Both health and education have suffered austerity for a decade. I'm sure you are aware that austerity by definition means cutting certain social services when you want to save money, right? So this has happened over the past 10 years. We've been speaking to the Minister of Finance that this austerity is troubling healthcare, and he agreed. That's why last year he gave us 20.9 billion, 20.9 billion rands, which is divided into 6.7 billion for the past financial year that is about to end, and 6.9 billion for the financial year that is about to start, and 7.1 billion for the last part of the MTF. That is the money we've been given, which means it's the start of moving away from austerity. But it's still the beginning. We're still at the beginning of moving away. We can't claim by any stroke of imagination that this budget has moved us away from austerity. But we can say with confidence that is the beginning of the movement away from austerity.
All right, Minister. Thank you for taking the time to speak to me. That's Minister of Health, Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi, talking issues NHI, and of course at the end there, responding to the budget and whether or not it has moved us further along the line in terms of issues that have to do with austerity and its impact on healthcare.